Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Shannon, I'm the Wisdom Wench, and I'm finally here with a long requested video to give you an update on how studying herbal medicine professionally is going. So in this week's video, it's going to take more of a podcast kind of format, so put this on in the background when you're doing something else, or chill out, get comfy and get a cup of coffee with me, and let's talk about how it's going so far. So I've just finished term 1 of my professional course in herbal medicine. This has been widely requested after doing my review of the foundation course in herbal medicine. So we're going to start by going over just a couple practicalities before I get into my experience so far, answering your questions, and then finally going my plan for term 2. I have a bunch of notes for this video, so let's get straight into the practicalities because there are a lot of questions around that. I'm studying with Heartwood. I did their foundation course and I've got an entire video recapping my experience on their foundation course, which I did absolutely love, and that did spur me on to do their professional course now. Go check out that video if you'd like to hear all about that. I started the term in September of 2023 and I'm doing it part-time. So the part-time course is over 6 years. The full-time course is 3 years? 4 years? And the part-time course is 6 years and I'm on the part-time course. So I work full-time and there is no way that I could afford to do this with a part-time income. There is no way that I could study this full-time and work full-time, which is something we will come to. So the cost of the course is about £2,600 for the year over the course of 6 years. You don't need to pay it up front all in one go. I'm paying it in monthly instalments of just a little over £200, which is the working full-time coming in. It's heavy academic study plus, and what I really loved about it is when you finish this qualification, you will have done 500 clinic hours. It's part of it to graduate, you do need to do your clinics, and I want to be able to leave the course being able to practice just straight away. So that really appealed to me. You also leave it with a diploma in herbal medicine and the ability to enrol in the National Institute of Medicinal Herbalists, colloquially known as NIM. So they are some of the practicalities, a bit of housekeeping. Let's get into my experience with it. So my first term started on the 18th of September, and my first 3 modules are currently Herbal Traditions, Anatomy and Physiology, and Practitioner Development. I instantly fell behind, like instantly, and here is why. Life happened, a lot of life. So the course started on the 18th of September, but that was the week I was getting married. So I didn't start then. The week after that I was on my mini-moon, so I didn't start then. The week after that I started working full-time in my current job, so I didn't start then. So it was in October, well into October, that I actually managed to start the course. So I did start on the back foot. I was quite far behind. I still kind of am, but we'll get to that. So having pretty much straight away fallen behind, I started to struggle pretty quickly. On this course you are given a personal tutor like you are with a lot of other kind of university level courses, and I have a meeting with her about once a term, and she helped me with motivation, kind of a bit of like validation as well that I'm doing all right and I can get caught up. But being so far behind, I did really struggle in the first few weeks of, I guess by that point it's the middle of term 1, feeling really overwhelmed. Because when I started the course, it gives you predictive hours of study of 14 to 20 hours a week, and I was so busy and so much life was happening even after I started that I could only manage about 6, and 6 hours is not enough for this course. It's not. It's quite heavy, and I felt really far behind. The term finished on the 8th of December, and then I had my winter break until the 8th of January. During that break, no more lessons are released, so I actually had a bit of time to catch up. Unfortunately, I was working a lot and I was doing a lot of really cool stuff, Like, I went to the winter solstice at Stonehenge, go watch my last video for that. But I was still playing catch up. I then took 2 weeks off in January before the term started and really just kind of kept my head down. And I'm almost caught up, but not all the way. That'll kind of overlap into my term 2 video, which will come when I'm out of this term. But term 1 felt really difficult because I was instantly so far behind. And I think if I wasn't so far behind from the get-go, it would have felt a lot more manageable than it did. It felt really heavy. It felt like an unmanageable amount of content. And overall, I really, really struggled to find balance. I was scraping for time to try and find places to study. I studied from hotel rooms when I was going to weddings. I studied from coffee shops. I did a period of time where I got up at 5 a.m. and studied straight away when I woke up. And while that was really productive and quite effective studying, I got a lot done in a very short period of time. My self-care plummeted, and it wasn't great for me because I have a number of morning routines that really help me keep my anxiety under control and keep my mental health in check, and all of them just fell to the wayside when I got up and studied at 5 a.m. So that only lasted a couple weeks before I just had to stop that because it wasn't sustainable anymore. But I didn't have too much of a schedule because so much was happening and I was grappling for time. That did change towards the end of the term. Late November, early December-ish, I had a bit more of a study schedule down. I would be studying after work, I'd be studying before work, I'd have huge swathes of my day off studying as well, and that did really help. And I think it wouldn't have been so much if I wasn't behind from the get-go, but I was, so that's something I just have to deal with now. Overall, my experience of all the modules, herbal traditions I love. I'm very caught up with that. In herbal traditions, that's why we're really studying the plants and their medicinal uses, which is fantastic. And that's almost like the proverbial carrot on a stick is what one of my friends on the course described it as, because you get through the other stuff, you get your carrot on the stick, which is herbal traditions for me. Anatomy and physiology I struggle with a lot, and I think that's because I don't feel naturally kind of attuned to that one. I really do struggle with that one. It's quite heavy, so you start with chemistry, then you move on to biochemistry, and then you start on the body systems. And I find it interesting. I really do enjoy it, but I struggle with the sheer volume of the amount of work in that one. I understand why all of it is necessary and why I need to do it, and I kind of understand the chemistry and the little bit of physics part of it, which I didn't think I would. That was a new thing for me. I was like, oh, cool, maybe I do like learning about atoms. Never had that experience before. But that module feels a bit more like a slog. Like I am pushing my way through that one. And then practitioner development is the last one. And in practitioner development, you're looking more at like research papers and how to critique things, how to read case studies and things like that. And I don't have too much of a problem with that one. I'm not completely caught up on that, but I feel okay with that because I've already got a background in that. Because of my previous study, because I've done degrees before, because I've studied to that level, I feel okay with that and how to critique papers and how to gather information. But I imagine that if I did not have that background, that would be a really tough module for me. So I'm grateful in that sense. So that's where I'm at with the modules. It was mostly falling behind, made me really struggle to create any form of work-life balance, and I got very overwhelmed very quickly. When I started getting my schedule kind of sorted and working around that, things started to ease up, which is good, which is what we needed. Term 1 was kind of it. I think there's going to be more in the next 2 terms because my essays and my exams are going to start. I will talk to you a bit more about them after I've done them. And I do have a plan. I'm getting started on those now, getting started really early so that I can be ready. I don't want to fall behind again. We'll talk about that at the end. At the end of the video, I'm going to go over plan for term 2. But I contacted all of you on multiple different platforms and I got some fantastic questions for you. A lot of them about practicality kind of things. So anything about who I studied with and the cost, I'm going to leave those out of this section because I answered them already. The first one, what are the most challenging parts of your course so far? Definitely for me, it's been the workload, balancing that with a full-time job, and I think largely anatomy and physiology has been hard. That is by far the heaviest of my modules. There is the most in there content-wise, and it's densely packed content. Like you are learning a lot. It's very necessary, but it is dense, and there is a lot there. But that's where I've struggled the most. I'm hoping that'll change as I'm getting caught up, but that was definitely the most challenging, finding any form of balance and finding a new work-life pattern, knowing when I need to make sacrifices and when I need to study. But now I'm on top of that, that feels a lot better. What do you wish you knew in hindsight before starting? That's a really good question. What do I wish I knew? It made me really glad to have done the Heartwood Foundation course because that gave me some semblance of what I would be doing. I think I would really struggle if I went in blind. If I went in completely with no prior experience and no frame of reference, I really think I would have struggled more. But I think before starting, I wish I'd had been a bit more settled and had a bit more of a routine and schedule. But I had a lot of wonderful, amazing life things happening. But I think if before starting, definitely have some stability and some schedule. Otherwise, this is going to be really hard to fit around that. Where do you envision this course leading you in the future? I got a few questions like that, different iterations of it. I've got 6 long years to go on this course, and I'm fully prepared for my mindset to change and for my aspirations to change. But right now, I really would like to be a clinician. I'd like to treat. I'd like to have my own practice, and I would like to be able to teach medicine making workshops, because the more I learn about this, the more I realize that 2 things: how powerful herbal medicine is, how needed herbalists are to fit multiple different gaps, and how so many preventative medicines could be made at home, and treating really basic things that aren't difficult at all can be made at home. So workshops I would love to do, and teaching people. Yeah, it's kind of where I want to go. I'm waiting for that plan to be fleshed out a little bit more. I'm not quite there yet. I don't know fully what it is I'm going to do and when I'm going to be, but I'm really excited for the next 6 years. I'm really excited to be able to watch each of these end of term videos back and kind of see where I'm at now. I might try and answer that question at the end of every one. That could be fun to see how that changes, if it changes at all. What are your 5 most used herbs and what herbs do you grow? If you watched my 2023 herb garden video, I planted a load of stuff with great intentions, and they all failed because I got overwhelmed. I didn't know what I was doing. But I'm restarting my garden this year. I have made a video on that already, and I'll be kind of doing bits and pieces as I go, trying to grow some different stuff. But my 5 go-to herbs are dandelion, yarrow, chamomile. Oh, it's hard to just pick 2 more. Probably lemon balm and meadowsweet. I think those are my top 5s. I use them for pretty much all of them. Oh, nettle. Oh, that's a really hard question. Because I use them in pretty much, I'd say Lemon balm, yeah. Lemon balm, mint. Oh, I use mint a lot. I'm gonna go with dandelion, yarrow, lemon balm, meadowsweet. Yeah, and chamomile. I'd say they're my top 5 herbs. I use them a lot. And in almost every herbal medicine I've made, I've used at least one of them in some way or another. I'm going with that one. I'm going with that. Oh, but marshmallow flower. This is really hard. That's a great question. That's a really hard question. What are your favourite medicines to make and medicines you always have on hand? My favourite medicines to make are tinctures. There's something really creative about making a tincture. I really like making tinctures. They're quite fun to make. And medicines that I always have on hand, it's more like I always have dried herbs on hand, lots of them, because I mostly treat myself with teas, and my husband will have a lot of teas for different things. Just because they're quick, they're easy, they're accessible. After a really long day at work, making a tea is easy. Like if I'm struggling with my anxiety and I can't sleep, I can make a tea for that. If I'm struggling with IBS and bloating, I can make a tea for that. If I'm struggling for period pain, I can make a tea for that. And it's such an easy way to get medicines. Compresses as well for skin irritation in the summer is a big one I have on hand. I made an oat and lavender one in a previous video, and it's a really good one to use. I really like that. It helps soothe and settle the skin. And because I struggle with hay fever a lot, in the middle of like summer especially, that helps just soothe the skin, and it's gorgeous. So yeah, it's more like I have dried herbs. That one, as I'm learning to make more things, I'm trying to make a herbal first aid kit at the moment, and I'm learning a lot about that. So it's more like a small variety of dried herbs that I know can do different stuff that I can reach for pretty quickly. Does it relate to biology or chemistry, and do I need knowledge of either to get going? It relates very heavily to biology and chemistry, especially in anatomy and physiology. It's entirely biology and chemistry, but you don't need a knowledge of either to get going. They teach you from the ground up. They do, and it's very dense, and there's a lot of it, and I'm not going to pretend it's easy, but you don't need a knowledge of that to get started. I would recommend doing the Heartwood Foundation if you haven't got much knowledge in science, mostly because they give you a little bit to start you off. So there's definitely been bits as I've been going through the professional course where I'm like, oh, I remember that from the foundation, and that helps a little bit. But it's heavily biology and chemistry, and that's completely understandable because they are training you to be able to liaise with medical professionals as well as part of a team. A lot of the teachers on the course are herbalists, and a lot of them work with medical professionals as well as working as a herbalist. You kind of liaise a lot, and to be part of a team to create the best health outcome for someone is to be able to speak their language. So I completely understand why we're doing that. How hands-on is it compared to theoretical? Vast amounts of facts to learn. It's very theoretical at the moment, which is something I've been struggling with. In the foundation course, they do have a lot of try this activity, make this thing, but in this one it is largely theoretical at the moment. I know that will change going forward, especially when it gets to clinic and I actually get to practice with people and with herbs. I'm really looking forward to clinic, but I don't do that until year 3. So I'm trying to find some community stuff in the meantime. With the vast amount of facts to learn, you need to remember some bits, but I'm not going to push myself to remember the ins and outs of the respiratory system. As long as I know how it works, I also know how to research. My main thing is I know how to take really good notes, and I know how to see the bigger picture, and that is what I'm holding on to, because I definitely am not the type of person to be able to parrot facts back to you. I've never been that. For that very reason, I'm not very good at exams, and I never have been. I'm pretty good at coursework. Coursework I do pretty well at. Exams, no. It's just because I can't parrot back facts, and I've never been able to. But I don't rely on needing that. There are so many reference books. There are so many resources all over the internet, and I've got my own notes from the course that are highly detailed, and I trust them. So having that makes me feel a little bit better. How many years are you studying for? How did I find the transition from foundation to professional? Workload and level of study. I'll be studying for 6 years. Professional to foundation, this is a really good question. I mean, from foundation to professional is a really good question because I underestimated the workload. I know that from the get-go. I underestimated how much involvement there was. The Heartwood Foundation course, I think I studied about 6 to 8 hours a week on that one. If I'm doing a 6 to 8 hour study week, that is not enough and I will fall behind. There's a lot of content. The transition from foundation to professional is a hard one. I definitely was naive about the workload. There's a lot more than the foundation course. If you've already done the foundation course, you're on a really good footing for what you're in for. You really are. But I expected it to be a lot like the foundation course. It's heavier than that. It is definitely heavier than that, and it requires a lot more of your attention. It's 100% worth it for me. I love what I'm doing, and I may not always get up and be excited to study, but I can see the big picture and the end goal with it. It was quite a jump for me, but I'm enjoying it. The level of study is a degree level course. So there is work. There's a lot of work. It's a UK level 6, I think, which equates to a bachelor's degree. So it's a lot of work, but it's really rewarding. And as long as you can find some form of schedule, you will be okay doing it. But you need to get a schedule down pretty quickly. That is where I think that's the biggest place where I went wrong. Is it possible to study alongside a full-time job? Will you gain a professional qualification, and do you have plans when you finish? It is possible. It's hard. I won't lie, it's really hard. I worked this out the other day, and this is what made me sad. So I work 40 hours a week, and then I've got about a 10-hour week worth of commute on top of that. So 50 hours a week. And then I've got my study on top of that. So it makes for a very long, very tiring week. It is possible, but you need to be quite disciplined and quite focused. It's going to require a lot of self-determination and self-discipline. I'm not going to say self-motivation in that because motivation waxes and wanes. There's been weeks where I don't want to touch the course, but I'm going to fall further behind if I don't. Self-discipline to be able to do the thing even when it feels really hard and that you don't really want to. Or when work is really heavy, being able to still sit there and be like, I'm going to make notes on this lecture today. I'm going to make my notes on this textbook. I'm going to do this quiz. I'm going to do this activity. Like, still doing the thing even though it's hard and work gets hard and life gets busy. It's going to require a lot of that. But if you know that this is what you really want, that is a fairly easy thing to overcome. Because my motivation can go, but I know I want the end goal. So I know I can do the thing. I just got to sit and do the thing. You get a diploma in herbal medicine at the end, like I said at the beginning, and that's equivalent to a BA. So you get a qualification out of it. I don't have plans for when I finish. I have hopes and dreams for when I finish, but not plans yet. I don't think that will come into play for a little while. So that was term 1. So I'm in term 2 now. My plan is I'm not letting myself fall behind on term 2. I'm keeping up to date with that. But in parallel, I'm catching up with term 1. Certain modules I am 100% completely caught up with. I am largely playing catch up with anatomy and physiology and practitioner development. I'm not starting at 0. I have got quite a bit done, but it's because I fell behind. I'm now studying 4 modules basically instead of 3, and that's what it feels like. So it's a lot, and it's hard, but it's worth it. So that's okay. I have a schedule now that I stick to, a study schedule, and I am very lucky to have an incredible group of friends and loved ones and co-workers around me. When I'm like, I need to study and hibernate for a week, no one contact me. They're all like, got it. So they're fantastic. It's hard but worth it, and I'm looking forward to term 2. I'm looking forward to actually feeling caught up. I really am looking forward to getting completely caught up. getting my first lot of assignments in, working around life and deciding what to prioritise are the biggest lessons I've taken from this first term, because I'm not going to be able to do everything, and I know I'm not. I know that now. I didn't, but I know that now. So I need to prioritise what matters to me and my energy levels, my space, and I'm getting there. I'm getting there slowly, but we're getting there. I think that's all of your questions. I really hope that this helped some of you. I know some of you are considering doing the foundation or considering doing the professional course. Go watch my video on the foundation course if you'd like to hear my experience about that. If any of you are on the professional course and you're further ahead than me, how you doing? Does it get better? Give me a hint. If any of you are watching this later down the line and are just joining Heartwood, or you're on the professional course, let me know how you're doing as well. I wanna hear about your experiences too. So if you've done Heartwood, if you have any more questions, let me know. Drop them in the comments below. And I'm on to term 2. Still the same 3 modules, just cracking on with assignments next. So thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Hope you enjoyed your coffee. I hope this format was okay. And I'll see you next time. Bye. So let's start. Are you paused? What's happening? Oh, what's it doing? What does that mean? Nope, it's still recording. I moved for nothing. Oh, that said portrait, not paused. Ooh. Okay. It's £2,599, so £2,600 a term. Nope. So the cost of the course is £3,000 a term. No, it's not. How hands-on is it compared? I think you get my fox socks. And then parallel to that, catching up on term 1. That hurt my abs. I actually remembered to use my audio this time. Look at me go, so professional. How do I take the thumbnails? I don't know if you can see me.